Welcome to our discussion today, Winning the Hearts and Minds of Customers and Employees, a conversation with Williams Comfort Air. Thank you for coming today. I hope everyone finds themselves healthy and well. I'm Amy Belay, the Vice President of Contractor Success at Pearl Certification, and we're pleased to be hosting this webinar today. We are passionate about providing valuable insights and information to help you grow your business and thrive in this new world we find ourselves in. A couple of housekeeping items. Everyone is muted. If you have questions, please use the Q&A feature, which you'll find in the bottom toolbar, about in the middle of your toolbar in Zoom. I'll be managing the questions for our panelists, and they will answer as many as we can get to throughout this conversation. We are recording this webinar, and we'll share the link to it as soon as we're able to in the next couple of days. You are welcome to use the chat box throughout. We are monitoring it. I just ask that any questions you have for the panelists go into the Q&A box. And with that, let's get started. For those of you who don't know Pearl Certification, we certify the high-performing features of a home so they can be valued at the time of sale or refinance. We do this by working with an elite network of contractors who certify their work, which Williams Comfort Air is one of those companies. Our partners report on average a 5 to 15% increase in close rates, in part because of their partnership with Pearl. If you'd like to learn more about Pearl, you can contact me or go to our website listed here. My contact information will be at the end of the presentation. And so the way this is going to work today, I'm going to introduce Matt and Greg in a moment, and I have a few questions for them. And then I will facilitate questions that you have. So please, this is interactive. Please bring your questions to the table, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. A little bit about Williams Comfort Air. They joined the Pearl Network in August of 2019, and they are a full-service residential company that services 3 metro locations in the Midwest: Indianapolis, Cincinnati, and Ohio. They are a mission-driven company. They have been a great partner for Pearl, and I'm really excited to have them here sharing their insights with you today. I'm going to introduce our panelists, and I'm not going to do them justice, so I'm going to ask them both to just give a little bit more context when we get into the discussion as to their background. Matt Tyner is the Director of Marketing for the Williams Comfort Air family. He's devoted his career to the home services industry and takes an open book approach to supporting the industry at large. He and his great team have come up with some innovative marketing strategies, which I'm excited that he's willing to share some of his insights with us today. And Greg Wells, who is the Director of Sales for Williams. He grew up in the industry, but tried to keep himself out of it by going into banking and finance, and managed to find his way back to our industry, for which I think we're all grateful. Greg runs the sales teams for all the companies under the Williams umbrella, and I really appreciate his willingness to share his strategies with us today as well. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'd love to have, maybe Matt, you can just start off by talking a little bit about yourself, kind of your approach to marketing, and we can kind of take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having us. I know Greg and I are excited to be able to share some things we've learned with some folks. So name's Matt Tyner. As Amy mentioned, I've kind of been in the HVAC industry since graduating college. Started in the plumbing industry in college, working for a Delta Faucet company in their product marketing team as an intern. Then economy was not in the best situation when I graduated. So out of there, I went to work for an independent HVAC distributor in the Midwest, the Habager Corporation, where I was a carrier territory manager for a little while. Then I went to move on to HVAC.com, where I led their business development efforts. Best way I've described it is Will, the owner there at the time, was what do we want to make this? And then it was kind of tasked with me to be able to help define that and figure out what the plan was to be able to grow that business. From there, I went to work for a smaller regional HVAC company. That's where I really got more involved on the marketing side of things. And I worked there to be able to lead the sales and marketing teams for a Lexington, Kentucky, and a Cincinnati, Ohio contractor. From there, I moved back to Indiana to get closer to family, where I was the vice president of marketing for a marketing agency that really focuses on the HVAC industry, and was in charge of creating the strategies for our home services clients there. And then, a year now, a little over a year now, I came to Williams Comfort Air to be able to help build the marketing profile and be able to move the company forward. And I'm just excited. Greg and the rest of the owners have brought me on board and trusted me and given me some free range to be able to try some new things. And it's been just really exciting and just a ton of fun. Great company to work for. From a marketing perspective, my strategy is quite simple. Mostly everything can be measured, right? I operate on a return on marketing spend from the analytics side. So really knowing where we place our dollars and what dollars come out of there, and not just knowing kind of on the macro level, but as micro as possible as well, to be able to make sure we're spending dollars correctly. But then also having a proper balance. A lot of folks in digital marketing can over-rotate towards digital and forget about this whole top-of-mind awareness, whether it be community involvement, whether it be television, radio. They forget that impact that it has on marketing. And in some cases, it can increase your digital marketing efforts almost twofold if you're doing your traditional marketing correctly. So just excited to be here and be able to take any questions that the listeners may have and see how we can help.
Thanks, Matt. Great.
Yeah.
Would you mind introducing yourself a little bit more deeply than I did, and maybe talk a little bit about just your overall approach to managing the sales teams?
Yeah, so my dad's owned a heating and cooling company my whole life. Started out, when I was very young, he bought a company that was, I think, like $400,000 in sales, and grew it, and was very successful and sold it a couple of times. And so I've been in the industry most of my life and kind of watched my dad work 80 hours, some weeks, and very just put his heart and soul into it. And I got a lot of my work ethic, I think, from just watching that, and kind of learned some things about what not to do sometimes with working that hard. So I've kind of grown up in it. And when I got out of school, as you said earlier, Amy, I kind of didn't want to just be given the job. I wanted to kind of go get my own experiences and kind of have to be accountable for my own performance. And so I went into banking for a while because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I figured, there's always going to be banks around, at least for now. So, but I got some really valuable experience, and did everything from work as a teller when I started out to I was actually in our wealth management group, which we worked with anyone that had from 1 million in investments up to 30 million. And talk about trying to sell someone something that's pretty difficult. So got some really, really good experience doing that. And I got to a point where I was just ready to get away from working for a big company. And so talked to my dad, and there were some things that we had just actually acquired Williams, and there was just a bunch of stuff that needed done that no one wanted to do. So we kind of combined that all together. And after doing that for a little bit, our previous sales manager wanted to kind of step back. And so I having sales experience, stepped into that. And it's been really, I've really enjoyed it the time I've been doing it, and been able to kind of take a view of it, not coming from, having 30 years in the industry, coming at it from a different finance perspective, and just knowing what's important to people and being able to take that and coach our guys to get a lot better on financing. Realize that there's a lot of times we don't have to use, certain financing plans that that cost a lot, that there's other ways that we can go about it. So when you talk about my philosophy for sales, what I feel like my job is to eliminate all the obstacles to not getting a sale. So if it's financing that we need different options, if it's equipment that we need, a wider range, those kind of things, like figure out how do we take a couple extra deals and try to, if there's something we can do that other resources that we can provide, trying to figure out a way we can provide that, and then trying to work with like Matt and some other people of, our service department of how do we get more leads in the funnel. So that's really, I would say, my overall philosophy with this job.
Great, thank you. I'm going to switch back to Matt. I'd love for you to just talk a little bit more about your approach to marketing pre-COVID and how COVID shifted your approach to your marketing strategy.
Yeah, so pre-COVID, I'd say it's a fairly standard marketing approach where you have a balance between top-of-mind awareness and new client acquisition through digital tactics. And it was very much, hey, here are our offers, making sure people, they're in front of the right people at the right time. I understand my role within the company is to be when someone is looking for anything heating, cooling, or plumbing, that I position ourselves or the company where it needs to be able to acquire that client. So with that typically comes a lot of offer-driven marketing to be able to acquire those, free second opinions to be able to acquire clients from our previous or from our competition, things of that nature. But that took a step back. Once COVID hit, it was very clear that from a marketing perspective, we don't need to be pushing deals. That's just not that's not the way that we're going to acquire more clients during that time. So we took a step back. Actually, when all three of the states that we serve went under the stay-at-home orders. So when that happened, that created quite the excitement, as you could imagine. And we took it a step further. Obviously, the industries we serve are they're essential, right? Plumbing, HVAC. We get to serve the clients that we have during these times. But we also realize that we have a responsibility for the communities that we serve, and that we need to keep our clients, our team members, and our community safe as possible. And we took that step by temporarily pausing for, I believe it was a month and a half, temporarily pausing our preventative maintenance, both on HVAC and plumbing and inspections. With that, gave us an entire fleet of vehicles that we had to figure out what we're going to do with, as well as the team members that operate those fleet of vehicles, because we still wanted to be able to give them their 35, 40 guaranteed hours to be able to really provide for their families, right? Without these team members, we're nothing. Without the community, we're nothing. So we need both of them. So how can we partner them up to be able to be successful? So what we did was we made the decision that grocery delivery somehow fit in the wheelhouse of preventative maintenance from a perspective of, we have a fleet of vehicles, we have people that can drive, and there are a lot of people going to the grocery store that probably shouldn't, being high-risk individuals. So what we did, we put in a plan where we said, hey, listen, community, we totally understand you guys need to stay home. We're an essential service. We can help you out. You guys place your Kroger click list. A variety of the grocery stores have their variation of click list, where it's essentially curbside pickup. And we said, you place that, you call our client care team. Our client care team will take all your contact, all your information. You'll get a text message when we dispatch our team member at the appointment time, and you'll be able to track them through GPS via Service Titan and be able to see the entire process through. We made it completely no contact. Our guys wore masks. They had gloves on. They had shoe booties. Everything they do going into a client's house, they did going up to the client's house. And through that effort, we were able to get a ton of traction in the community. Really how the community embraced it was amazing. It evolved into us packing 10,000 meals for the Salvation Army with team members. I believe we're almost close to, I've been kind of keeping track, we've been close to 500 or 5,000 meals delivered to frontline healthcare workers throughout the community, that the community's actually made the donations to a local restaurant here. And we said, hey, we'll come in. Yes, we made a donation of a certain number of matched meals, but we'll also be your delivery arm. So we delivered it to the different folks for them. Again, just figuring out where we have a gap, how can we fill it? And that led to just an amazing response from the community. Not only just community members, but also the different media outlets. I can't even tell you, I haven't gotten the final tally from our brand agency, but the impact of this because of the free advertising we got. There were radio stations were running free spots for us to market this, to be able to inform the consumers of what's available. And then also TV stations that actually created custom spots for us that we didn't ask for, but they were like, hey, here's what we can do to help with this, to help you help the community. And they did that. And it just made a tremendous impact. We transitioned. We took a unique approach. Our TV and radio did not have any offers on it. They all transitioned to either, primarily a thank you commercial that we created on radio and TV that was thanking your doctors, researchers, nurses, anyone that's a frontline healthcare worker, delivery drivers, grocery clerks. It was just a thank you series of saying, hey, we understand this sucks. This sucks for everyone, but you guys are getting the brunt of all of this. And we just wanted to make a difference. And even through marketing, the impact that we've had has been phenomenal. The feedback we've gotten, I can't tell you how many emails or text messages or phone calls the company has got from someone that may have gotten a replacement quote from us last year. They're finally able to make a decision now. Just sent one on to the team earlier that they said, listen, you guys were higher, which yes, because we were going to provide a higher level of service, but the client's big play was, or what they said was, your work in the community is one of the reasons I'm going with you. And that's something that just means a lot to us, because it wasn't, we didn't charge for these deliveries, anything of that nature. It was just our way of being able to give back to the community, because we realized this virus was bigger than us. It was bigger than the company. It was bigger than the community, whatever. We needed to serve. And that's where we took our mindset and our strategy of how we were going to take marketing from that time. And then also just our general philosophy as a business.
Yeah. And that's such an amazing story. And your motivation was to support the community, but it sounds like it's some pretty positive impacts to the business as well. You mentioned one with just brand awareness. Can you talk a little bit about other impacts that you've seen from leads, maybe SEO, other things like that? Yeah,
so we've had, we've had now 2 little spurts of 80-degree weather, which isn't very high for a lot of people in the U.S. I realize that specifically in the South, but for us, that kind of helps jumpstart some of the business. And the response that we've seen, our organic and direct response on the website has obviously seen a pretty noticeable increase over a similar time period last year when we had much better weather. And just really the overall sentiment, the lead count in general has seen a big increase. I can't say a lot of people still want to buy from an HVAC company unless they have a need. Intent is huge in our industry. We've got to realize that as an industry, intent's huge. We fill the gaps at that point. But when, I think Greg could even speak to it, once we saw the weather hit, we're probably as busy as we would be in a 90, 100-degree day. And we attribute a lot of that of all of this goodwill that has been built up into the community. It's nothing that can be bought. It can only be earned. And I believe that is something that's just been extremely powerful for our team. And if we weren't genuine about the way we approach this, because we've had several competitors in the market that have even implemented a similar strategy. And it's like, we've had some people come to us and say, oh, what do you guys think of them knocking your guys' plan off? We're like, whatever. I mean, that means more people in the community are being served. So that's completely fine with us. This wasn't a marketing campaign. This was community service. This is what we owed it to the community, because this community has supported us for years. And it's because they have supported us that we're able to do this. And that just has to be recognized in any business, that without those people that buy products or services from you day in and day out, if you don't support them when you need them most, you're doing them a disservice. And yes, we were in a fortunate spot to be able to provide those services, but no matter what your company size is, large or small, there's just a big impact that can be had and can be felt within the community. Just doing what you can do and what you should do for those community members.
Yeah. How do you think it's impacted your ability to thrive and set yourself apart from your competitors?
Oh, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Super pumped about this because uh, we could literally run thousands more ads and not get the amount of lift we have to our brand that we received during this time period. Because people are calling us now because of what we did, we don't have to pay for those leads. We're not doing PPC for those leads. We don't have to do other different paid channels for those. Those are people that are coming to us organically or through direct to the website just because they heard what we did and that resonated with them. And the impact this is going to have on our brand is going to last for a very long time. And not only to the community, but for our team too. You should see the faces of our team members as they're experiencing this, as they're going out and they're serving the community and they're getting genuine thank yous. People are putting signs up to the door telling us, God bless, you guys are Corona heroes, I think was one of them. And it's like, you're not going to get that on a normal HVAC service call. So the impact that it had internal and external is just, it's going to be really cool to see it play out over the next year, because it's got legs on it. Because this is, if you think about it, most generations generally have one or two big impact events in their lifetime. Yeah, I know my generation, 9/11, and then really now, because this is just something that has been completely different. And we put these memories in our mind and they're going to stick. And if we're ingrained in those memories in some shape or form, we're going to be more top of mind than if we just continually hit them with more radio messaging or more TV messaging. And that's really where it made an impact. But I will say, when things like this happen, from a marketing perspective, evaluate how consumers are interacting with your brand. So for instance, radio, we decreased it, I believe, approximately 60% in the month of April, because we realized people are not driving to work. What we did was we kept it on during the time periods of which your first responders, your nurses, your doctors are driving to work, because we wanted them to hear a thank you message, because we truly appreciate what they're doing. So we kept that live, but we pulled back during the other standard drive times, just because the demand tanked, for the demand, I guess, listenership tanked during those time periods because no one was in their car. From a TV perspective, you got to think how are your consumers utilizing TV? So we look at it, a lot of them are at home, their kids are at home, daycare's been canceled, schools are out, they're listening to children's programming. So where are our ads? We're going to shift them a little bit. We're going to listen to your morning, because most people will wake up, listen to your morning news, obviously getting ready for the day, even if it's just blaring in the background, whatever. But we even position some of our ads now on children's programming, because we realize that's going to be running throughout the day. And during that time period, let's try to be able to make sure the parents are listening in the background, right? They've got to keep an ear to the ground on what kids are watching or this or that. So they're going to be impacted by the brand. And then your nightly news, what we did see is that some of the like Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, some of your more game shows that people usually come home at and go to the TV to watch as a release, their ratings started to dip slightly. Because when people are already home all day, last thing they want to do is be home more and listen to and watch game shows. So people were going outside. So we shifted our buying up to be able to make sure, it's not the nightly news, but the evening news, the afternoon news, to be able to really capture on that side of things. And so it's really just, as things change, as people, their work habits, their listening habits, their how they absorb marketing changes, you've got to be able to adapt to that, because people are going to go different places to get different messaging. And that's really would be my word to the wise. Not only look at if it's appropriate to be running deals at that time, but also look at it if it's appropriate to be what day parts, what mediums you're using, and how you're going about it.
Great. Thanks, Matt. I'm going to shift over to Greg here. First, I think just giving a little bit of context, Greg, on the size of your sales team. Have you seen differences in the impacts of your sales team's ability to engage or close customers based on the markets? And then I'd love to hear your reaction to what Matt was sharing as well.
As far as the size goes, Indianapolis, we have 8 salesmen. Cincinnati, we have 6. And then in Louisville, we have 4. I would say the reaction between the markets, it's been interesting to see. We've talked, if not every day, almost every other day. Our Louisville market has seen a appreciable decrease compared to the other markets, and we've tried to rack our brains around, what would cause that. And honestly, a lot of it, I think, if you look at that market, their governor is he's really scared people about the virus, and we can all debate whether or not that's legitimate or not. But I think at the end of the day, people are taking that to heart, and they're not wanting people in their house as much. The demand isn't driven as much because, they are taking it, a lot differently than other markets. So, and we can only do so much about that. I mean, we haven't done anything really different there than we have other places. So, we've kind of done everything we can to try to drive demand. I think we're just trying to operate, do control. And this has been my message with the guys in the field is we can only control the things we can control. We can't control necessarily people ringing, the phone ringing. But what we have to do is figure out every client that we're in front of. How do we make the most of that? Do everything we can, wear a mask every time, if the client doesn't want you to, and you're comfortable with it, don't wear it. But, at least go into it, taking it seriously and putting yourself in the best position possible. And honestly, if we didn't have the virus going on right now, I don't want to say that we wouldn't be any worse off, but we haven't had a great year with weather. So I think if anyone said that, that's the reason that they're not performing very well, then it's not, you can't use this as an excuse. So we have to get to a place where, we just go into every opportunity thinking that we're going to have success and go from there. So we haven't, we've went in some directions of trying to, discount in some situations just to get jobs because, we have to do that, but it's no different than every year in the off season. We all do that to some extent. So, a lot of it, I think for me, this over the last couple of months has just been trying to manage those expectations with guys of, not letting this affect, when you go into a home that you have every opportunity to still make sales, and, you just have to make the best of it. I would, kind of what Matt was talking about with the community stuff. I can't echo enough the genuineness of it, that we do have competitors that are doing a version of what we've done, and it's very evident with clients that if it's not genuine. And so if you, and we actually laugh about how many companies are sending updates from their CEO every couple of days about COVID. And it's like, we've chosen not to do that because, you don't want to just fit, you don't want to just blend in with everyone. And honestly, I don't think many people care about what our CEO says about COVID, being honest. So, so a lot of it, I think, is just not just doing these things, but actually being genuine in it. And if it's not genuine, don't do it. So that's helped a lot when we go into homes is, people are passionate about it. They're excited that they work for a company that is doing the things we're doing, and not just, trying to take advantage of people right now, but actually trying to help out.
And how have you seen the efforts from Matt's department impact your ability to either get in front of customers, or the type of customers, or the quality of those leads?
I think if you look at the quality side of things, when this first started, I would say if we were in front of a client, it was a pretty good lead, just because if they want, and that's kind of how, when we talk about being an essential service, if they wanted us out there, we were viewing that as essential. So, if we were in front of a client, they're technically willing to risk their life for us to be out there. So, we take that pretty seriously. So I think we actually saw an increase in close rate whenever we started this whole process. A lot of it was because, the lead volume probably did go down, but the leads that we were out on were we had a pretty good likelihood of closing. I think we found in the last 2.5 weeks that, people are getting more lax with it as you kind of become desensitized to it. And we are getting, we don't have, where we're in the markets we're in, we haven't had the weather necessarily as much as we're used to this time of year. And so we are getting probably a little more shoppers. But I think all of it goes back to, the things that we're doing on our marketing front are helping put us in a better position that when someone does call us out, we have the right to ask for the business because we've done all the other things. So.
And would you say you've changed your approach to sales with the virus, or is it?
I wouldn't say we've changed our approach other than pricing. Maybe we've changed a little bit just to kind of match up with what our competition's doing. I mean, we're in a very fortunate spot compared to a lot of our competition that, we do have the ability to kind of weather the storm. So where a lot of our competition, I would say we've seen some pretty low prices out there. So we have kind of had to not match, but we've had to discount a little more than we want to in some situations. But a lot of that's just because we know where the marketplace is. But we're not going to ever probably completely match everyone. So we are, commanding a little higher price. But I would say that's the only thing we've really changed. Other than that, just, as far as managing expectations with employees of, that's kind of something we've had to manage a little more of, making sure, because we've had some of our sales staff that are probably they're likely to be compromised, so they've chosen to stay home. And so from my perspective, typically, we have plenty of people available, and so we've had to kind of be targeted with, if we get the schedule full, being targeted with what we're going out on, those kind of things. So I would say that's mostly what's changed. But other than that, like I said earlier, we're trying to not let this be an excuse that, we still have every opportunity to close deals.
Yeah. And how are you keeping employees safe or feeling safe? And is that shifting in any way as a result of the world opening up a bit?
Yeah, the biggest thing that we've been trying to reiterate is, the mask, like I was talking about before, is go in wearing the mask. And if the clients don't want it, then that's between you and the client. But, you should be wearing a mask. We provide a mask to every single employee. We actually, when this all started, we had is it 4 people, Matt? I don't remember how many people were making masks.
I think it was almost up to 5.
Yeah. So we actually had employees that, with talking about, we didn't have as much work, and we had almost all of our employees we were guaranteeing hours for. We had this huge group of people that had not a lot to do. And so we actually transferred them over to making homemade masks for our employees, just because we couldn't get our hands on masks. Since then, we bought some that are a little more comfortable. The homemade ones are not as comfortable, but so that I would say that's probably the biggest thing. And, even getting to our employees in the office, making sure they're wearing masks, every time, and trying to almost shame each other if they're not wearing a mask into doing that. The other just, providing gloves. We actually put hand sanitizer, whatever you call those, hand dispensers in every one of our trucks. We've gotten a whole education on hand sanitizer about different, how viscosity and all that stuff that I didn't even understand before. But getting comfortable with making sure we're providing all those things for our employees, and even just, working through contactless ways that we can have clients accept work, letting our guys actually take video of client saying they accept the work, and trying to limit, everything. So just trying to, I guess, educate our employees on, what's going to keep them safe. And, if you do all these things, getting them over the hump of worrying about, that they're going to get it, yeah, there's always a chance you could, but if you do these things, your likelihood is actually very, very low. And so, I think we're pretty much past most of our employees being worried about it. Now it's just about accountability around, now that, we're all kind of getting desensitized to it, don't get comfortable. We still need to do these things.
Right.
That's a good point. So I'm going to turn to some of the Q&A. So just a reminder to attendees, if you do have questions, please use the Q&A function. And there is a question here for you, Matt. What percentage of your marketing budget do you spend on the top of mind marketing?
34.
Approximately?
Approximately 34. I think if I had to be a betting man, it's about 34.47.
Wow. I just appreciate how well you know your numbers. And then kind of a follow-up to that, when we talked before, you mentioned a little bit about how you shifted some of your strategies to more social media. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and why you decided to do that?
Yeah, so Facebook is just a great platform to be able to tell your story on. We've got a phenomenal branding agency that we're partnered with that helps. I lay out the strategy, and they really help then tell the story of the strategy. And we've just been really blessed to be able to have them on board to be able to help with this. So, piece of advice for everyone: if you're doing good in the community, you don't have to be quiet about it. You can tell people what you're doing. And here's what I mean about it is, most organizations that you will do community involvement for, they don't have the marketing budget you do. What they rely on is when you tell the story of what you're doing in partnership with them, that is how they're going to get their word out. That is how they're going to grow their impact within the community. So if you are doing something well, share it, but make sure you tag the organization you're partnering with, this or that. Facebook just became a tremendous platform for us to share the story on what we're doing, posting pictures of us doing meal drop-offs at the different hospitals, tagging the restaurant that's doing that so they can hopefully get some love. We made changes where we started recommending different restaurants and actually doing boosted posts for them to our target demographic, to be able to let them know, hey, these folks, our team loves eating there. I would send out emails to the team, ask them, hey, what restaurants, family-friendly restaurants would you recommend? And they would send them back, and we'd do boosted posts for these folks, giving recommendations and trying to help drive business to their business. But really, social media just became crazy impactful. Our engagement rose dramatically, our likes, everything, it just really came full funnel. And when you do these posts and people like your posts, don't forget, you can click on the likes, and then you can invite them to like your page. So with most boosted posts, you're not necessarily targeting your current clients, but you're targeting future clients, right? You're wanting to bring in business. You're wanting to use it as a potential client acquisition tool through top of mind awareness. So make sure you're inviting them to the page so they can see more of what you're doing in the community. And again, I think just so much of it came back to us being genuine about it. One thing I would recommend, we immediately had a video created of what we're doing to keep people safe. So we created domains like safeserviceindy.com that housed that video, had a checklist that we follow through of what we're doing in the home. We're going to show up with a mask. We're going to have our gloves. We're going to have hand sanitizer mounted in each of the trucks dispensers so they can use it. We're going to show up with the shoe booties, gloves, all that stuff. We're doing this to protect the client, and we had to let them know that we were offering these services. So our text notifications that go out beforehand that have the Pearl certification recommendation, right under that was the safe link to the safe service, and it was just clearly saying, hey, if you want to learn about what we're doing to keep you and our team safe, please visit this URL. And I had a great video that just really explained everything. And we put notification bars at the top of the website so that people know what we're doing, because we all take for granted what we do every day as just kind of being, oh, this is just industry standard. It's not to the clients. They don't know this. They don't know what we do. Even if they've been a client of yours for years, they may not remember what that last client experience was. It may be 8 years between repairs. Refresh them, let them know what you're going to do, because all we have to offer is the experience. That is all we have. They can go get equipment from anyone else. They can go get a repair from someone else, but it's that experience that we have to drive home and we got to own, because that is what's going to make an HVAC contractor different than all the others in the market, is the experience that they provide. Because even most people can do marketing. It may not be as good as us, but most people can go do other marketing to try to compete with us, this or that. But it's at the end of the day, we just let people know what you do, because if you're not, no one's going to.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So as a result of the coronavirus, the new big buzzword is healthy home, IAQ. And I'm wondering what your approach has been to that, and are you having customers ask about it? I'd love to hear, Greg, what how you guys approach that in the field as well.
Yeah, I'm not touching that with the 10-foot pole. what I mean from that perspective is we'll have that conversation in the home. The technician, the comfort advisor, they're the ones that have that trust to have that conversation. What I am not going to do is from a marketing perspective, and it may be a shame on me, I've heard very different opinions on this from mine, but mine is now is not the time to be trying to really push UVs from a marketing perspective, push air filters from a marketing perspective. And there's been internal folks within our company that disagree with me, but we have a brand to protect, and what we don't want to come across as is predatory. And a lot of companies I see even within our market, that's how the perception. I've seen companies across the country on social media getting blasted because they're approaching this from this UV light can kill coronavirus, or it kills, or they'll do the 99% kill 99% of viruses. That's not true. But are you leveraging that information that hasn't been qualified yet for coronavirus? Are you using that information to leverage against the current situation? And that's where you've got to be very careful, because when you're leveraging the misfortune of the entire population to be using that to sell a product, that's typically not going to come across well. Home services already has a bad reputation because most of the time, the only time people interact with us is when they have a problem or something broke. And it already comes across as, here comes the salesman or this or that. So we don't need to worsen that. So let's just help educate people. Let's help inform them. Let's be very honest, be very transparent. We can still bid on those same keywords from a PPC perspective. So if they're searching them, we can tell them we have it available. But where I personally believe that is owned is within the home. That is when you start doing, our sales team or our service department literally does, I would say, 20 to 30 air advice reports a day, sometimes at each location, just understanding what the air within the home is. Because once we have that proof, we know then we have to have a solution for that problem. We don't want everyone to think they have a problem. We want to truly be able to go in and diagnose it, because that's going to make us the professional within the home. We're not just spouting out different, hey, everyone has this. We're not saying that. We're saying, here, we're in your home, we're doing a service call, we're doing a tune-up. Let us run this air advice report on each floor of the home, and we'll review the results, and we'll just offer you any potential recommendations to solve the problems that may exist within your home. And that's where that belongs. It belongs with the comfort advisors, having that conversation, going through the dialogue to understand the environment of the home, how people feel, and being able to recommend products that solve problems they may be having. And that's where personally I believe that should be owned, because that is going to bring, again, back to people being genuine and trying to help this reputation that home service industry has. That's really where you'll start building that up and building a solid reputation and start building that genuine nature of the call and the conversation. That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Greg, how would you respond?
I think in everything that we do on the sales side is we want to be a needs-based company. So, if we're recommending something to someone, I want to be able to ask, what did they say that led you to that recommendation? Whenever we do any presentation, we always give options. So we're not just telling them, hey, this is what you need. It's, hey, here's a couple options based on our discussion, and what works for you, and let the client make the decision. And I have the exact same view with anything around, accessories or things that anything related to this is, nothing's changed with what we're offering. And, we should be able to have a discussion with the client and, hey, and it probably puts it more top in their mind whenever we bring it up, so I would say the change has probably been clients are asking for these things, whereas before, we were having to tell them about them. We've been talking for a while about putting together an air quality package. Well, this has been something that has kind of forced us to actually, get that out there and have that discussion. I completely agree with Matt that, I think, if you think about like when there's a hurricane or something and you see companies out there being predatory with trying to capitalize on that. This is really no different. And for us, it's, this has just forced us that, it's okay to talk about them. You don't want to scare people into buying something, because that's never a good thing. But, the products haven't changed. They still do the exact same thing they did before. To Matt's point about, we can't tell you it's going to kill coronavirus. And if anyone says it does, you can't substantiate that. So for us, it's just, we have these products available, and, it's no different than what we should have been doing before this, just being, not trying to scare people into buying them.
Yeah. Did you, or how did you equip your comfort advisors on how to address I imagine they get asked this a lot at this point. It's become, a major hot topic.
Yeah. I think if you look at, if you go back to anthrax, when that was happening, I don't think there was anyone that could say when that happened that they could kill anthrax. After the fact, they were able to prove that they could, right? There's products we sell that can help with that. Coronavirus is really no different. That, I'm sure there will be accessory companies that will come out, eventually and say that. But at this point, no one has really, we can't even, we don't have a vaccine for it yet, let alone be able to prove that something can kill it. So I think, for us, we try to be really conservative and, guaranteeing what something's going to do. So for us, it's, equipping them with, making sure, we actually in all of our sales meetings, we've had representatives from Honeywell, representatives from Carrier, the purifier we sell, just equipping guys with information so that way they know, when clients do have questions, what can we say it'll do, and what can we not say it'll do.
Got it. So a question about sort of the plumbing side. Did you see an impact, positive or negative, on kind of the number of calls you were getting on the plumbing side?
Oh yeah. Sorry, Greg, did you want to take this?
Right. No, you're good.
From my perspective, in the marketing side, we saw an increase on the plumbing because people are home. They're spending more time at home. They're using those hot water heaters, or the water heaters, more often. That's hot water heaters. That's what their job is. So they're using the water heaters. Kids are putting things down toilets and clogging drains more often. And so we saw a noticeable increase there. I will echo what Greg said, and even on the HVAC side, consumer spending seems to be loosening, just from the number of impressions we're experiencing with the website. It's very noticeable. The increase we've seen over the last 2.5, I'd say, weeks, because before demand did decrease. Just from our things that I can see within Google and some of our data and what it shows, there was about a 60% drop in demand in just general searches during the beginning portions of it. So think you're early to late March, really March in general. I think in certain campaigns there were impressions that dropped from 9,000 per month down to 3,000 per month, and that's a pretty noticeable impact. So there was a change there that did happen. But plumbing, oddly enough, it stayed pretty consistent. Plumbing's our consistent business that just keeps going and going. But the HVAC is where people saw a more noticeable impact from a demand perspective.
We did have one more question come in with respect to the community engagement. Was that something that you shifted into in part because of COVID, or was that always sort of part of your approach?
No, so we have a 12-month community involvement calendar. So that was something we're very purposeful about to make sure that we're doing. What we do is we essentially have a theme each month. So think around November, veterans. So we're going to give free systems away to veterans. If you think of the early February, families in need, it's cold outside. They may not have heat, so we provided heat to families. We'll be giving away free tune-ups in October as to people in need. Each month we have a program set up, and it's not always giving away free services. During the summer, we get more towards donations to different organizations we believe in from a cause. So one big thing we're very passionate about are homeless youth. Listen, if there's someone that needs help, it's them. They're at the beginning of their lives. They have the biggest chance to impact people. So we actually, in each market for the month of June and August, each month we will give $77,500 in each market each month to a charity that deals with homeless youth that we've partnered with, that has a specific need, has a specific program that they're wanting to get off the line. There's one in Indy. They're wanting to spread to not just be this one location that they're servicing people and homeless youth through, but they want to have different places in the community to be able to do that. So we're helping them do that through our giving. So there's a lot of different things we do throughout the year. It's all planned out prior to the year starting, in terms of what the monetary giving is going to be, what units we're going to give, how many units we're going to give away, because that's when you, as a contractor can go to the manufacturer or to the distributor to be able to say, hey, are there things you can help us with to be able to impact the community positively? They'll generally want a shout out. Cool, totally give it to them. But just do stuff like that to be able to see what impact you can have. But this was not something that's COVID specific. That I will say it probably expedited it. We're trying to figure out a way that we can still do grocery delivery for folks that are considered high risk. So we did high risk individuals. We also serve first responders and healthcare workers, delivering their groceries for them. We're still trying to figure out a way that we can balance that in the schedule and still provide it. So different managers are stepping up. We just had Greg's brother, Chris, just delivered meals to healthcare workers today. We had one of our parts runners deliver the rest of them. So we're trying to figure out how to integrate what we came up with during COVID-19 into normal business while keeping our standard community involvement plan in place as well. So I hope that gives some light, but always plan it if at all possible, because that means you're going to hold yourself more accountable to doing it. And you're not going to get in slow month and be like, maybe I shouldn't help these folks, or you may be busy in the busy months and be so busy that you may not even think about it. It's something that you have planned, so you're going to hold yourself accountable to that. So I would recommend doing that if at all possible. Just do what you can to help others.
Yeah, the other thing I would say too, kind of along those lines, is we have added these additional things, kind of like Matt was saying, but for us, we've always been involved in the community. The part we didn't do a very good job of was actually, like Matt was saying earlier, telling people what we were doing, because we didn't want to brag about it, right? But I think a lot of it is this has actually become part of our identity, is sharing, anytime we do something, when we do give a system away, actually telling people about it and giving a shout out to the people that, our equipment manufacturers that helped us be able to do that. So a lot of it is telling your story and telling people, what you're doing, and not just hiding behind that, because it's okay to tell people about that.
So with the last couple minutes we have left, I'd love to hear from both of you what advice you would give businesses out there that are kind of wrestling with this intermediate step between, the sort of fear of the pandemic and living in this world, how you're approaching both marketing and sales, and just your approach to business. Like, what advice would you give folks?
I'll let you go, Greg. I need to think about this one.
I would say from my perspective is, you just have to figure out a way to live in this environment and not just get by, but thrive through it. And I think a lot of it, I know from my perspective, is, how am I coming across to everyone? If I'm scared and I'm really worried about it, if I'm projecting that, then that's how, my entire team's going to be. That's how people in our company are going to be. And if I'm being really relaxed about it, that's going to be the exact same thing. So I think, for what I've tried to do personally, and obviously I'm not perfect, but what I've tried to do is, be kind of in between both of those sides of, take it seriously, but also not go crazy with things. And just try to do everything we can to try to be positive throughout it. Because there's so much negative stuff out there, you know, in the world outside of this. But you know, kind of like I was saying before, with just, you know, all we can do is control the things we can control. We can't control, you know, what the government does. We can't control, you know, our clients. But you know, we can control our attitude. We can control the mindset we go into the calls with. We can control a lot of things, and just try to control those, and not get too caught up in the environment. But you know, just every call is unique. We have clients out there that need help, and just we're going to do what we can to help them. So I would say that's kind of the way I'm leading my team and what we're trying to do as a company.
I'd echo a lot of that. There's a reason, to anyone that's on here, there's a reason you're as successful as you have been. Don't forget the things that you have done to get where you're at. So if there are certain processes or systems you have in place that have allowed you to get where you're at, make sure you still keep them going when you talk about it from an operations perspective. From a internal team member perspective and client perspective, be open-minded. You don't know what people are going through. You don't know how this has impacted them. They could have just lost a loved one. There are so many factors and variables now, just within this current situation, on top of what normal life brings, right? And just be open-minded to that. Have team members understand that you may be doing things that are uncomfortable, like wearing masks, but it's for their protection, but also for your client's protection. This is a time for us as a company, as people, to be unselfish, to be able to realize that this is bigger than us, and we have to be able to just realize that, recognize it, and find a way to be able to be better through that. The one thing that I'm really pumped about is, like, through all of this, we're going to come out a better company. You're going to come out a better company. You're going to learn so much from this, just on how you interact with people, how your clients interact with your team, how your team interacts with your clients, things that you can do to be better, to keep them safer, to keep them healthier, so they have more workable hours, right? There's just so much that can be done, and just embrace that, reflect, take time to reflect on what's happening. From a marketing perspective, be aggressive. The one thing that I love is when COVID happened, it's weird. I started seeing some of our competitors drop out of marketing because that was their solution to be able to save on costs without realizing the impact it's going to have on revenues. And what that did was then it made my cost per lead much lower, and I could acquire more customers and more clients. So from a marketing perspective, sometimes when things get bad from a business perspective, or become bad, it wasn't even necessarily bad. People are growing. We're growing as a company, but there was a lot of uncertainty, I think would be the better word. So when there's uncertainty, be confident in what you're doing. If you were doing it before, you can still keep doing it, right? Because surely it was working. If not, understand your numbers. I don't know if you guys can tell, pretty big numbers guy, but know them, because what that is going to enable you to do is you do not make knee-jerk reactions from a marketing perspective. And that's some of the worst things that you can do to your business, is turn off marketing that works, because that's going to directly impact your ability to grow during times of uncertainty. When others are shrinking, that business has to go somewhere. So be the company that they go to, grow, and just be better.
Well, with that, thank you for that, Matt. I just wanted to put our contact information up on the screen. If you'd like to learn more about Pearl, there's my contact information, and Matt and Greg were gracious enough to share theirs. So if you have questions directly for them, please feel free to reach out. I'd like to thank all of the attendees for your engagement in the discussion, and of course, thank Greg and Matt for such a great, insightful conversation, and sharing your expertise and experiences with us. We'll be following up with a recording of today's webinar in the next couple of days. And if you liked what you heard today, we are continuing to build out our webinar series. On June 2nd, we're going to have a conversation with Heather Breathwaite of the National Energy Improvement Fund. She'll be sharing some details on a couple of interesting financing products, specifically targeted to contracting businesses, including bridge loans, some low interest loans, as well as line of credit. we'll be sending out some registration information on that soon. And with that, thank you so much for attending, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.